Good evening, everyone. In this pandemic situation, digital platform provided by various educational institutions and organizations has been the major source of knowledge sharing process. Today, Department of Sociology and Commerce is also using this digital platform through this webinar on the topic Ethics in the Workplace, the Secret to Meaningful Careers. This is the need of an hour, we can say. Workplace ethics, also referred to as business ethics, described the ethical dimensions of organizations and company activities. The term encompasses nearly every issue that may arise in the business, including production, distribution, marketing, sale, and consumption of goods and services being offered. Ethics boils down to moral philosophy. It is framed by how an individual or company's morality influences the decisions made and the behavior exhibited. It is important to recognize the distinction between what is law and what is ethical. It is possible for a behavior to technically be legal while still being considered unethical. Ethical lapses of any kind have the tendency to snowball in work environment. Ethical lapse causes to the diminished reputation of company or organization. The major intention behind choosing this topic for webinar is to sensitize the student community about the workplace ethics and its role in shaping careers. Our today's resource person will be enlightening us on the same topic. So without taking your much time, let us begin our today's webinar. I request our principal madam, Dr. Shobha Naik, to welcome all the attendees of this webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sharmila. Namaskar. Hello to everyone and a warm welcome to you all, respected teachers, scholars, and dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this very important and relevant topic called the ethics in workplace, the secret to meaningful careers. Dear friends, in today's scenario, this topic has got its own importance. Today, everyone carries a dream of successful career, wants to perform the best. But to bring these dreams in practice, we must develop various qualities. We should be morally strong. We must know about the ethics in workplaces. Actually, the topic carries roots through our age-old Indian basic ethical system. Traditions of morality sounds very strongly in our Indian literatures. The principles like positivity, honesty, decency, self-enhancement, respect for hard work, egoless social and human approaches, sincerity towards duties, awareness about various roles, broad-mindedness and character building, etc., are picturized in Indian literatures, especially in medieval period. Actually, to build the successful careers, such qualities are must. So I feel very happy today to explain these important aspects. We have the right scholar, Dr. Rita Ranganekar, Dean Institution, Dean Institution Building, ICFAI, Business School, Mumbai, a pride of our city, Belgaum, who stands with multidisciplinary approaches is with us today. She is highly educated in literature and well as disciplines of management too. Hence, I'm sure that today you all will definitely get thorough outlook about meaningful careers through this national webinar. On behalf of RPD management, staff and students, and all the registered delegate friends, I, the principal of RPD Degree College of Arts and Commerce, take this opportunity to welcome our resource person, Dr. Rita Ranganekar, and also in the beginning itself, I express my earnest thanks to her for, in spite of her busy schedule, she accepted our invitation to be with us today and guide our students on how one can make a meaningful career. I hope you all will feel free to discuss your relevant queries with her. So thank you. Now over to Dr. Sharmila for further proceedings. Yes, Sharmila, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's a time to introduce the resource person of today's webinar. Before her introduction, I would like to do one kind request to all the attendees of this webinar. After the resource person's speech, if they have some queries related to the topic, they can put the questions in the chat box. Thank you. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce a versatile person who has proved her mettle in various fields, be it literature or corporate sector. It is an honor to have someone as talented as the speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Rita Ranganekar, Dean, Institution Building, ICFAI Business School, Mumbai. Dr. Rita Ranganekar has more than 30 years of experience in HR, business operations, academics, branding and research, etc. She is University Gold Medalist in HR and English Literature. She has also received a PhD in management. She specializes in branding, HR, behavioral and soft skills training, management development programs, and corporate social responsibilities. She is a gold medalist in human resource management and in English literature, having over 22 years of experience in recruitment, corporate training, academic coordination, and other social responsibilities. She designed and conducted unique workshops in in soft skills and HR, like oral and written communication, business English, presentation skills, emotional competence, competency mapping, teaching effectiveness, leadership and team building, performance management, and business etiquettes. She has also worked in IT enabled services, pharmaceuticals, and hospitality with Mahindra Days Hotels and Resorts, Ranbaxy Laboratories, and Datamatics Technologies Limited. She has delivered training programs at BPCL, FICCI, LIC of India, Reliance Industries, and many more organizations. She has conducted faculty development programs for many renowned educational institutions throughout India. She is former chairperson of Indian Society for Training and Development, Mumbai. She was awarded Best Faculty for Institution Building at IBS Mumbai twice. She was invited by the American Consulate to be in conversation with Rashmi Bansal as part of an author speak series in September 2014. She has won the Devang Mehta Award for Best Professor in Human Resource Management in 2013, awarded by BMA. She is one among 100 academic heads who received Professor Y.K. Bhushan 100 Most Dedicated Teachers of India by World Education Congress in November 2017. She is currently responsible for IBS brand building, institution building, management development programs, and CSR. Ma'am would be sharing her insight on Ethics in the Workplace, the Secret to Meaningful Careers. Without further ado, I request Dr. Rita Rangnekar ma'am to share her valuable thoughts on the said topic.
Uh, Thank you very much, Dr. Sharmila, for that very long introduction. And I feel a little humbled because I'm among my own people. So one generally doesn't want to be introduced in such detail. All people can do is call out to me as Rita from the other side, and I'll be very happy to speak for hours and hours together. That's the kind of relationship I have continued to share with some of the people over here in this discussion, and I would like to continue to do that. So thank you very much. Good evening to Dr. Shobha. Good evening to Bimba ma'am and Professor Sudhir Shinde, and a very good evening to all my uh, respected and esteemed colleagues and uh, all the students who are present here today. Good evening to all of you, and I hope that I would be able to share something with regard to ethics and what it means to be professional at the workplace. Now, ma'am, with your permission, may I share the screen? So you'll have to just give me a. Am I allowed to share the screen? Yes, I think I've done that. Friends, I would like to give you start with a couple of examples. But before I start with an example, I'll just start with this simple question. I know some of us here have a lot of work experience. We are on the threshold of maybe a midlife career. While a lot of you students out there, it's not actually fair to all of you that I ask you to picturize your retirement dinner. So let's for just about 2 seconds, imagine you're in your retirement dinner and you're invited to make a short speech to those who have gathered there and who are out there to felicitate you. A few questions. I mean, this is a reality. This will happen to all of us. What will you say to them? What message will you give them? And if somebody out there asks you, what are some of your regrets, or what do you feel bad about in terms of what you did and what you did not do? And I think you would definitely agree with me that all of us, each one of us in that particular position, would definitely feel bad about some things that we did, and we wish we had not done those during our working life. So, there's a very nice a quote by Shakespeare. I've deliberately not put that here in a slide, but that's part of Julius Caesar. I'm sure a lot of you would have studied literature, and it says that the evil that man does lives after him. The good is often interred with the bones, which means that whatever you do in terms of being noble, being kind, and all that is taken for granted. We are expected to do good. We are born in this world to do good. But anything that you do against what you call as your professional ethic or personal ethic, the world and the people in the world are very likely to remember that forever and ever and ever. Now, why did I talk about this? Why did I talk to you about this? So if we are done imagining what we want to speak with on our retirement dinner, I would like you to take a look at this. This bit of news is from yesterday's Indian Express, and I guess it would have appeared in many other newspapers also. We are in the middle of the pandemic situation, and the Bombay Municipal Corporation has ordered an inquiry into BMC staffers' wives who have been able to get COVID-19 contracts for vaccination. Now, this is a normal practice, but this is, they've said that almost, they've bagged several contracts in a certain D ward. Last week, there was a very big piece of news in the Times of India and all the finance dailies that a couple of doctors were booked for fake vaccination drives. And now that people have been asked to pay, you can pay and get your vaccine done quickly. There are a lot of cases of rules being flouted. Ma'am, while talking about ethics, spoke of two things. We spoke about business ethics and we spoke about workplace ethics. Now today, you know what, I would like to remind all of you a couple of very large business ethical violation cases. I'm sure all of you remember our students are young, so I would like to remind some of the students who are young at the age of 20, 25. My faculty colleagues would definitely remember the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Ma'am, I'm sure you remember that. 1984, when lakhs of people in Bhopal died of gas leakage or suffocation because somebody one of the workers in the factory did not turn off the valve that was supposed to be switched off at night while doing the regular check on duty. So a worker is appointed to do a round at the end of the day and switch off that particular knob or turn the knob off. And one really does not know whether he forgot to do it or he was negligent, no matter what. But think of it. Lakhs of people died as a result of that. And today, people are still suffering. Some have gone blind and people have gone away for life. Another case, I think recently all of you would have heard of the Tarun Tejpal verdict, okay? Molestation of a co-worker at the workplace. That's one. Last year, if you remember, we had the George Floyd killing. Why did, I'm sure my student friends over here would be very, very familiar with the killing of George Floyd in the United States. Now, why did that happen? Okay, friends, I just want to say that if you wish to participate or if you wish to say something, you are welcome to put it in the chat box. I will keep the chat box open. I'll keep on looking at the chat box if you wish to say anything. And my suggestion is that if you wish to talk in between also, please raise your hand. I would be happy to unmute you and so that you can talk. All right. We are talking here about this is the George Floyd murder. What happened? The whites do not like the blacks, and somewhere in the whole process, while bringing order into the city, a black man was actually squashed to death by keeping him, the policeman actually kept his foot on his neck. I witnessed that. Oh my God. And a lot of my lady friends over here would be very familiar with #MeToo. All of you are familiar with the Me Too case. See the way the whole entire momentum happened. Now, why did #MeToo happen? Simply because at a particular time in life, nobody ever thought in terms of respecting women at the workplace and considering them as equals, or people forgot that women are equal professionals and that they need to be treated as professionals. Now, friends, you will say, why is Rita starting with such depressing cases or such depressing incidents or episodes? Why am I talking about all of these? All of these are actually cases of what you call as ethical violation or violation of what you call as, either you call it business ethics. For example, your Bhopal Gas Tragedy is a case of gross violation of business ethics. You don't run an organization like that. When you speak about something like hashtag Me Too, or when you speak about something like oh yes, there is a case study that we have, which we talk about when we speak management. It's about, I don't want to name the company, a large corporation today which is doing very, very well by delivering goods to your doorstep. Okay, so a virtual marketing or a virtual delivery company, and you will be a little shocked when I talk about this to you. Please take that in your stride. You see that workers do not get breaks even to go to the washroom. So people do not get breaks even to go to the washroom, and long working breaks. There are a lot of rules about how the workers should behave, which results in large scale attrition. But this case actually talks about people not being able to go to washroom breaks, and therefore they have to use bottles. They have to use water bottles. All right. Now there are two or three things, and before we start looking at what is workplace ethic, friends, let's first of all look at what is professionalism. Because we are talking about professional ethics, we are also talking about business ethics. So for some time today, in the next session, in the time that we have with us today, let's talk about professional ethics. And let's start about understanding what is professionalism, because unless you understand what it means to be a professional, it's very difficult, for us to say, how do I manage the ethics in this entire scenario? So what is professionalism? Typically, if you're a doctor, if you're an advocate, or if you study to become a chartered accountant or an engineer, people are told, okay, you've now become a professional. A professional maybe who is trained to be or to practice a certain profession. Now, for that matter, a plumber, or let's say a turner or a fitter, or you say a driver, he's also a professional. A pilot is also a professional. He's trained on the skill to practice a certain profession. And when you say you are trained to practice a certain profession, for example, a doctor can practice medicine, a dentist can tend to your teeth, a civil engineer will make large buildings or bridges or construction. There is a certain way or a right way of doing something, which means in terms of the skill. At the same time, just because you are trained in medicine, you may be trained in the profession, but it doesn't make you a professional. So when I say I am working like a professional, in the corporate, when we are working, this term professionalism is used very, very rampantly. Everybody says, oh, there is a professional. Or she's very professional in her job. And when somebody does not go by ethical rules, they say he or she is very, very unprofessional. And when they call somebody an unprofessional person, you can see that the eyes speak disapprovingly, which means that maybe the person is very trained. For example, a doctor may be very good in the job, but if the doctor keeps on asking you to run a lot of tests which are not required, to go through a surgery, or puts you through a CT scan unnecessarily, or makes you, after a CT scan, says, okay, now you do an MRI scan, or then after that you say, no, this MRI scan did not give me a result, you go for a third MRI scan, all right? So that makes even a doctor unprofessional, because he is not thinking about the patient. The last year, when I took my daughter for a third MRI, the radiologist she actually told me of, she said, how many times are you going to put a young girl through an MRI when she doesn't need it? But the doctor asked me to. And then I decided I'm not going to go back to this doctor again, because she is making me run all the tests just to make a fast buck or to make a movie. So your colleagues and your workplace, your co-workers, or even your friends or people, your customers will not see you as a professional unless you follow a certain set of ethics in your profession. Now you see, friends, why are we talking about professionalism before we speak of ethics? All right. So when you say ethics, I'll give you an example over here. I went to buy a microwave oven. I wanted to buy a certain brand. I wanted to buy a Sony, but the lady at the counter, or the customer service officer who was introducing me to a lot of different brands spoke to me so much, she convinced me to buy an LG. And I didn't realize when my mind had been converted. When I was paying the bill, I saw a smile on that salesperson or the customer service executive's face. And the way she smiled, I realized that I had been inveigled or manipulated to buy a certain brand. And then I realized that simply because I think there would have been an incentive connected with my buying a particular brand and not buying the brand that I went to buy. And that was when I realized that I had been put through an unethical practice as a customer. And the next time I go to that particular showroom, I will think twice. I will think twice. So people are watching you. And you know what? On a daily basis, when we do things, when we do ethical things or we do non-ethical things, our colleagues are watching us and emulating our practices. They copy what we do. They think, and especially when we are in leadership positions, they also process in their mind whether, okay, the boss is doing this, and therefore it is okay for me to do something like this. So that's what we're talking about, okay? Now, when you say professional ethics, it's about behavior. So when you say business ethics, it's about running an entire business. When I say professional ethics, as a profession, let's say as a professor or a faculty in a B school, I need to know what is the ethical code or what is the practice that I can follow. And also, I will add one more word over there, that I wish to follow as a set of things that I would do and that I would not do in order to make my work and my career meaningful for myself. So let's say as a professor or as a teacher, I'm sure all of you as students would have some idea about what a teacher should do and should not do, right? So when you say professional ethics, it's about behavior. So when you say professional ethics, it's about behavior. But as far as I can understand, every student would expect equal attention. Each student would say, I want my teacher to be fair to me. I want my teacher to pay complete attention to me, irrespective of which class of society I come from, which religion I come from, which language I speak, and that I should be given fair marks for my projects done by me. So tomorrow, if I tell my students that, look, students, all of you should submit your project by the 10th of July. And after 10th of July, I will not accept, and anybody who comes to me after 10th of July will either get less marks or will not or your project will not be accepted. And then a student, last minute he comes to me and says, ma'am, please take this from me, right? Now, if I flout that rule, I'm somewhere flouting some degree of ethical behavior. Okay. So what you're talking about is, having a right set of values. Now, when you talk of values, values are different for everybody. Why do I have a particular value? Okay, that's one. And as a result of having a particular value, what attitude am I demonstrating in my day-to-day behavior at the workplace? So what I'm going to do now is that after this particular slide, I'm going to speak about professional ethics as ethics at the workplace. Because whenever you say professional ethics or business ethics, it's very large and it's abstract. But in our day-to-day work, there are many, and I'm going to refer to this, in great detail later on. When you say all of us are faced with what you call as ethical dilemmas at work on a daily basis. Even at home, we face those. Should I say yes? Should I not say yes? Or should I agree to this? My boss asks me to do something. It doesn't go with my principles. Should I say yes? Or should I say for the larger interest of the organization, I should be able to do this? So let's look at workplace ethics. But before I speak about workplace ethics, I'd also like to say that every organization, whether it's a pharmaceutical or whether it's a manufacturing company or whether it's an IT company, with regard to its business and expected violations of behavior at that particular place, every organization has its own code of conduct. And if you go to any office or any factory, you will see that this code of conduct is displayed in a large format, maybe on every visible wall, and it is displayed for people so that people don't forget. Okay, people don't forget that with regard to my profession, this is something that I need to follow. In fact, in many cases, the code of conduct is brought across or communicated to each colleague, and some companies which have a strong governance policy might expect every employee to learn it by heart. So when I was in datamatics, I knew the code of conduct of datamatics. I knew it by heart. I had to recollect it. And every time there was a quality audit in the organization, we all had to, at random, the auditors would walk up to us and say, please tell us about your code of conduct. All right. So ethical principles, for example, I don't want to sound very heavy here for you children, but as an IT company, we have a commitment to every client who sends us data. So we had to sign a non-disclosure agreement with each one of our clients, and as employees handling that data, we had to sign a non-disclosure agreement or also an information security management agreement saying that I will not disclose your data. Your data will be kept confidential from the beginning of the process. We would process data till the end and hand over your data to you intact without leaking it. So confidentiality of data was very important for us in datamatics. And that's where the code of conduct lay. Every profession has its code of conduct. I would like to show you. Now look at this. These are typically medical ethics codes. So every doctor working with a hospital or even practicing in his own private clinic would be required to follow these principles of medical ethics. Now, this is from the American Medical Association. A few examples here from the Indian Medical Association. So you're supposed to respect the privacy and secrets of your patients, honor your, the autonomy of your patients, and then you have to gain the consent of your patient and his or her family in order to conduct a surgery. Okay. I want to specifically draw your attention to the last one here. Now, why am I showing you the last one and deliberately read this out? I shall not accept any gifts or special benefits or gratifications from pharmaceutical companies. Right? Now, this is a dilemma not only in the medical profession, but this happens in every workplace. And this is a dilemma and this is a practice where everybody every day has to take a decision. Should I take a gift given to me by a customer or a client, or should I not take a gift? Right? You also have company policies where the company very clearly states that gifts of any kind will not be accepted. So one day, once somebody asked me when I was delivering a session like this, or when we were talking about conflict of interest or gifting or ethic related to gifting, that if somebody gives me a box of sweets for Diwali and I have known that person for a very, very long time, okay, and he has become an associate of late, should I take the gift? Or rather, should I take that box of sweets or should I not take that box of sweets? Right? Now, this is something I will discuss with you. We'll talk about this when we take questions and answers, because there is no right or wrong over here, and therefore I don't want to say anything. All right. Now, there is also a difference between values and workplace ethic. Now, what is that difference? Values belong to us. Values belong to the overall society. Now, but a value is never written down anywhere. Value is not written down anywhere. It is something that is connected to me, and it's very abstract. But when I say workplace ethic, generally workplace ethics are somewhere written down, either as a company policy, or it may also be spelled out to you during your training, and you would be told that, look, this is what you may wish to do when you are in a certain activity. I'll give you an example over here. Certain organizations are very, very clear that they will not give a bribe to any government official, no matter how long it takes for a company to get, let's say, a license or a permission to do something. Whereas in a certain organization, they may say that, look, for quick work, we may relent a little. So these are codified as set of rules. Nobody talks about them. Or no, sometimes they may not write about it also, but there are gray areas. So that's your difference between a value and an ethic. So when you speak about ethics, look at some of these general or universal principles. So what are we talking about? Honesty. So you're expected to be honest with your reports. You're expected to be honest at workplace. When you call up your boss to say, sir, tomorrow I am on leave. All right. Your boss expects that you're very honestly telling him or her that you are actually, not well. Or that maybe if you said that there is a family wedding, you actually have a family wedding. So honesty is expected in everything, right? And honesty is very, very closely related to what you call as trust, right? So you can't work with people unless you trust them, right? Okay. So you can't take your teacher teaching you unless you trust your teacher. I'll just give you a simple example over here. When your teacher teaches you and tells you that, this is what is written in the books, you attend the teacher's class because you trust that your teacher is bringing you the right knowledge, right? So at any point of time, if you get a simple doubt that what the teacher is teaching me is actually not true, whether it is history, or biology or physics or economics or whatsoever, you'll stop attending the class later on. Correct? Yeah. Similarly, your teacher also puts some elements or enters some element of trust in you by expecting you to write your examination fairly or to do your project all by yourself and not doing a copy paste from the internet. Similarly, at the workplace also, there is a basic trust that is required. And in many cases, from a little bit of my work experience, friends, let me tell you that time and again, without your knowledge, the organization or the governance body actually puts you through tests of ethics. Let me give you an example. A typical example is where in the first 1 week, you could be given a whole lot of data to process, and your boss may tell you, look, this is very confidential. Keep it to yourself. Kindly maintain privacy. Keep the data confidential. And then he or she may check with a few other people to find out whether you have gone and given out a little bit of this information to somebody else. All right. Another example, you are the executive assistant or the executive secretary to the director or the managing director. Now, a principle or a basic tenet of ethics for an executive assistant is that my boss continuously asks me to look at her email. And there is a lot of confidential information that is exchanged because she dictates her emails to me and I write out those for her. And the secretary is privy to a lot of information. Is she keeping that information with her, or is she going around and telling 20 other people in the company, देखो boss का ऐसा हो रहा है? Okay, I'm giving you a basic example of ethics that one can practice. Are you maintaining confidentiality of data? Are you keeping the trust of your bosses? Are you keeping the trust of your subordinates? Your maybe your junior comes up to you and tells you about a personal problem at home, as a result of which she is not able to concentrate. Now she walks up to you and she tells you this. Why? Because she wants you to help her. Right? And you go and immediately tell 2 other workplace friends at lunchtime. All right. Look, this girl is having this problem at home. Right? And this particular friend goes and tells that friend, look, boss was talking about your personal problem to people at the lunch, place. And this is what you call as trust, confidence, and being loyal to people. So these are a few ethical basic principles, respecting people from all walks of life who come to the workplace. Somebody may come from a very rich family. Someone may come from a very, very down to earth or maybe a modest background. Do you have respect for all of them? Somebody comes from a faith or a religion which is completely opposite to your particular religion and your faith and your value systems. Are you willing to respect that person too? All right. So that's what you're talking about. And accountability. Accountability. I'm not going to speak about doing good and avoiding harm to others because we already spoke about that when we spoke about the Bhopal Gas Tragedy, right? Harm to thousands and lakhs of people. Now that's absolutely not ethical. Okay. Now another thing which is typically which is confused, we call off moral. And as children we had our moral science classes and we were told what is right and what is wrong. When you speak of emotional intelligence, now there is a new kind of intelligence which is being talked about in the work sector. They speak about moral intelligence. So along with emotional intelligence, do you also have moral intelligence? Now, what do you mean by moral intelligence? Is my mind and my heart telling me on a day-to-day basis whether, if I'm doing something wrong, whether it tells me that I should not be doing this, or even when somebody else is doing something wrong, am I, am I being told, or is my barometer telling me that I'm right or I'm wrong? But generally, morals are told to you by society, or your culture tells you. Okay, so it's a very larger, broader concept. Ethics, you choose, or I choose. So I say, okay, fine. My culture tells me that I should not be doing this. But then ethics are chosen by ourselves, and we govern our own ethical choices. All right. Okay. So that's where we decide. For example, I'm going to the basic. Let's say a truck driver. How can he practice ethics? Any examples out there? How can a truck driver practice workplace ethics? Any insights? If you remember, you can put it in the chat box also, right? How can a truck driver practice ethics? Let's say he says that I will not drive in the night time, or nobody is going to check, but when I have some liquor, I will not drive when I'm drunk, or I will not go beyond a particular speed, or I shall not break a traffic signal, even if there is no camera to watch me, or even if there is no policeman to stop me if I flout a signal. So whether you're driving your car or whether you're driving your truck, okay, this is a basic ethic that you would follow. All right. Okay. Now let's come down to the brass tacks and basics. How can you and I practice ethics at work? And friends, believe me, these are so important, so important. I spoke to you about making a meaningful career, and we also spoke about speaking at our retirement dinner. Now, these basic things that if you follow, now, most of the time nowadays at work, people don't flaunt ethic. So every morning you don't tell everybody, look, this is not ethical. You don't talk about it. You might put it across to people in a different way, or you might just through your eye movement or through your body language communicate to people that, look, this is not acceptable, or this doesn't go with the ethics, either personal ethics or personal ethics. All right. But these are basics that can definitely help people to, I would say, sustain a career. Most of the time, what happens is that all of us, we are in a hurry to grow to a powerful position. All of us feel. Everybody wants to become the director. Everybody wants to become the CEO, and he thinks that if I break a few of these ethics, or if I break a few of these rules, I will grow up the career ladder faster. But if you look at any of the top leaders, if you look at anybody today who has been there, and look, growing in an organization or growing to a position is not only about growing there. You also have to stay there. So people who have stayed on a top position for a very long time and have continued to be there are people who have practiced their workplace ethics. Think of any example. Okay, think of any example. Why do people want to buy a Tata car all the time when there are better cars? People identify with the brand. They say, nahi, gaadi leni hai to Tata ki leni hai. Okay, why? Because you identify, and for you that company is the embodiment of ethics. All right. So practicing companies' rules and regulations and following them diligently, communicating with people regularly, in terms of, yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right when you say not only post or position, even to make money. You're absolutely right. And we are going to speak about that. Yes. Developing professional relationships with people. So when you say speaking to people, and when you say speaking to people, if you speak the right kind of language, and if you speak language of integrity, people on the other side begin to respect you for it. And even through your body language, begin to realize that here is a person who I cannot convince to break rules. So regular communication with people, finding out what's happening, okay? Professional relationships. I'll just sharing an example with one of our marketing heads in the organization. This year, he was short by his business sales targets by about 70. So when he announced to the management, he did not blame his team. He said, I congratulate my team for whatever targets have been met. And any shortfall that has happened, I take the accountability or the blame for that. And I promise that next year I shall cover those. So that's when you say you take responsibility for your action. And one small thing, children, if I may call you children, my students out there, it's very nice to talk about big things. You can say, no, I will not do this, and make very, very big promises to yourself in ethics. The code to this is actually make a basic standard for yourself, and keep it simple. Keep it simple that beyond this, I will not go. For example, if I say I want to reach work, if your office timing is say 9:30, and you say every day I have to reach office at 8:30, once in a while you are going to be late, right? Okay. So why make such big standards for yourself? Let's say at least 60% of the time I'll try to reach before 9:30, and at least 40% of the time I will try to be there at sharp 8:30. That becomes a work ethic. All right. And then it becomes a practice. People start observing you for it, and people respect you, and slowly you'll see that people start actually following you. They start emulating your practices. All right. Ma'am, you'll have to tell me whether I'm exceeding time. I'll take about 5 minutes, 5 minutes more, a little more. We are just warming up to the whole session. That's what we're talking about. Okay. A few practices, friends, about unethical work practices, and I would like to spend some time on this, because these are things that happen regularly, and these are the things which can get people to lose jobs actually. Okay. Lying at work. So doing one thing or saying something else, covering yourself up with lies. For example, even when you're taking leave, okay, even when you're taking leave or sitting late of work at work. Office time is till 5:30. It is expected practice that people stay late nowadays till 6:30 or 7 o'clock. And then you stay at work till 9 o'clock in the night. And the next morning when you are asked, why are you late to work? Why did you sit late last night? You say, oh, there was so much work. There was so much work. Okay. But you're actually sitting late at work because you want to show your boss that, I sit late and I'm such a good worker. Once or twice people believe you, but sooner or later, people understand that here is a person who constantly lies. Taking credit for other people's work. Your junior does all the work, and then you go and take it you report it to your boss. Right? Violence. This is a serious issue at the workplace, which is shouting at your co-workers, blaming other people, using aggressive or loud body language, banging, using loud gestures, ogling at people. All right. Coming to the workplace and doing personal work in the office, or calling your juniors and giving them your personal work during their office hours, or making them stay extra to do personal work, taking long work breaks. lunch break is from 1 to 2, and you continue to sit till 2:30, and so that you can avoid work, stealing from other people's purses, sexual harassment. I would like to talk a little about sexual harassment a little later. Passing the buck. You are given work and you push on the work to somebody else and say, okay, come on, do this for me. These are unethical work practices. Okay, these are some extreme forms of unethical practices meted out by employers on work at the workplace. These are extreme forms and they don't happen all the time, but I would like you all to know some of these, which is getting favors in return for a promotion, making your people sit till late in the night for work which can be completed within the working hours, asking people to come out with you, harassing them verbally, or putting too much pressure for work, or nepotism, bringing your relative inside and promoting that person to a higher position, or creating a very unfriendly working environment, and setting very high targets. Setting very high targets so that people don't meet those targets, and then you can pay them a lower incentive. But these are very, very extreme cases, may or may not happen. In most cases, they don't happen in normal, good organizations. Today, when people talk about ethics, the word etiquette is spoken about very often. And remember, when you say etiquette, etiquette is about dressing up or about wishing people or having good manners at work. But ethics as a word is an offshoot, etiquette as a word is an offshoot of ethics. All right. But what is common between ethics and etiquette is that you are thinking about how the other person would feel and thoughtful consideration of other person's feelings and comfort. So the commonality between ethics and etiquette is, you practice ethics with all the polish, and that's where etiquette happens. All right. But more than etiquette, if your basic ethics is good, I think you would be much, much more accepted at the workplace. Okay. Now, a few things which I would like to talk about. See, these are some dilemmas that we face on a daily basis. You start work in the morning till late in the night. A few examples I wish to give you here. So you have to buy some equipment for your company, for your organization from a vendor, and your wife is working with the vendor, or your wife is employed over there. You feel that the quotation given by the vendor is very, very high, but it's your wife's company. All right. So are you willing to make compromises, saying that, okay, if I buy from my wife's company, then she will get a promotion and her boss will be happy with her? What are you going to do? So I leave that question to you. Will you buy or will you not buy? Okay. Another very simple example here, which I've given you. I wish to take leave tomorrow for my cousin's wedding, but my boss will not grant me leave because there is a lot of work tomorrow and my boss wants to be there. He wants me to be there. So tomorrow morning, I will call up and say, sir or ma'am, or I'll say, I tell my husband, okay, come on, call up my boss and tell him that I'm not well, or I'm hospitalized today, or I'm going for a COVID test. And if you call up, then he or she will not say no. I don't have to speak lies. Okay. Now these are simple dilemmas. And on the other side, you are talking about money. You are talking. You are doing business with another company where your relative is present. All right. And this is where your credibility and your trust. Another example. I tell you, you promise your employee that you promise your junior that, look, you perform well, and then let's look at your performance appraisal, and there is a certain reward waiting for you at the end of the year. And at the end of the year, the poor person works, and you have forgotten about it. And when it comes to time to giving the promotion has gone to somebody else. This is how credibility and trust is lost, right? So along with, when you call honesty, integrity, I would give a lot of importance to what you say and how credible or believable you are with regard to what you have said. Have you kept your word with people? Okay. Uh, a few things which happen at work, which you see happening on a daily basis, because many times people are not trained on ethics, right? Bullying people. So a senior person or a senior employee, he may have joined 1 year earlier, and he says, okay, look, you are my junior. Bullying people, or men bullying women at the workplace, bullying transgenders at the workplace, bullying people at the other, or bullying actually means when you're dominating people, you are either isolating them, gossiping about somebody, victimizing people. So make people of a certain community feel bad about being part of that community. Not providing hygiene factors. So you don't give people a good workplace to sit in, or there is no air conditioning where they should have been, or the company walls are not painted. All these come under hygiene factors. Employee privacy. So you put cameras in 20 places to watch what people do, how many times they go to the washroom, and sitting and counting the number of breaks that people are giving. Favoritism. So you take 2 or 3 people and you continue to work with them, and you ignore all the other meritorious workers. Okay, that's one. Now I come to what Bimba ma'am was talking about, where we said money, bribery, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. Companies now have such strict rules with regard to sexual harassment. And today, friends, I would like to tell you that even if you stare at an employee or at a person of the opposite gender, so I'm not only talking about men staring at women. Even if a lady stares too many times at a man, the gentleman can file a case of sexual harassment against you. So one of the things that at least we train our students on, especially the boys, that please understand that what you consider as a friendly gesture might be interpreted by the other person of the opposite gender as sexual harassment. So please keep your compliments for yourself. Okay, talking to people like dear, honey, or baby, or auntie, you will come across this on a daily basis. Why? Can you call people as sir or ma'am? Can you call people respectfully by saying Mr. So and so, or just call them by their complete name? Ill treatment of people. Okay. Now I come to a very important point, which is that of money. Every company, Shobha ma'am, how much time do I have? How much time do I have? Okay. If nobody wants to tell me about it, I'll continue for a little more time. But where money matters are concerned, a couple of things to be very, very careful about with regard to lending and receiving money. Never borrow money from the company counters, and never borrow money from colleagues. That's one. Giving and receiving bribes. That's one. Okay. Thank you, Shobha ma'am. That's one. Receiving in kind. So most companies have gifting policies. So you can actually go to the standard operating procedure, or you can reach out to the HR policy manual, and there they would have very typically written down. So even if a colleague is getting married and you want to buy a gift for that person, you can't go around to 10 colleagues and say, come on, let's contribute money and buy a gift. The company has a strict policy about what kind of gifts to give people who get married while on the job, and how much is good enough. So gifting and not receiving gifts. If your vendor or your customer brings a gift for you, even if it's a mithai ka dabba, always better to walk up to the HR or walk up to your boss and ask them, is it okay to take this? The best way to do to refuse the gift is to say, sorry, this doesn't fit into my company policy. We are not allowed to take gifts. All right. But if the company says, okay, fine, it's okay if you take a box of sweets, if somebody brings it, let's say during Diwali, and you can't, the best thing to do is distribute it there in the office itself and finish it off. Never carry it home. Never carry it home. A lot of times people, make small compromises at work. You say, okay, itna budget milne wala nahi. When you make a budget for an event, instead of making a budget of 10,000, you make a budget of 15,000 rupees. Right? Why? Okay, because later on I will not be able to. Do you need those 15,000 rupees? Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you can manage your event in about 6,000 rupees. It's company money. And company money is your money. Would you spend your money that way? Right? The second thing, okay, you made your budget, you got your 15,000 rupees, your event is over, your project is over. One of the things that I normally tell my students, even when we have institute events and the students are required to make a budget, is that the day the event is over, your statement or your budget statement, expense sheet should be complete and ready. Tomorrow, the accounts should not send you a mail asking you to settle or close the budget. Before the accounts department sends you an email, you should be ready with your remaining cash deposited. I'll tell you an example, a statement that the managing director of Forbes made at a panel discussion. He said that even if 1 rupee of the company accounts or the balance sheet or of the budget is not being accounted for, you as your barometer should consider it as a breach of ethics. So every penny matters. And are you vigilant to see that 1 rupee? On a larger note, he said that whenever you notice people or observe people having and spending more than what their normal salary would be, you need to ask yourself, where is this money coming from? And that's what we are talking about when we say, managing practices with regard to money at the work. Every penny of the company matters. And if it belongs to the company, it should matter to you. It should matter to you. How well are you paying your vendors? How well are you paying your vendors? All right. So that's one. So a few things with regard to ethical practices. Another one which I want to talk about is inclusivity. Are you including women, disabled people, or people who come from special sectors or from different types of castes of communities? Is everybody being given a fair chance, or are people only of a certain community being given a fair chance? A few delicate matters we are talking about, which is romance at the workplace. Ideally speaking, when you come to work, you come as a colleague. Of course, statistics says that 50% of marriages happen at work, and especially in the United States. But what you do in your personal life should be kept separate from what you do in your professional work life. All right. Friendship at the workplace. Your workplace friends are your workplace friends. They cannot be considered as personal friends. And in case you're meeting them outside, can you keep these two dimensions separate? where you say your personal friendship does not come into work, and what you do at work should not affect your personal friendship. All right. So these are some things. I know they are difficult. They are difficult. All right. Religion is very delicate. Anger at the workplace is delicate. People coming to work with drunken or under substance abuse, drugged employees. Okay. These are all delicate matters, and they need to be handled with a lot of soft skills, and on a case to case basis. Okay. Another 3 minutes is what I'm going to take. This Shobha ma'am gave me 10 minutes more. I think I already took 7 minutes of that. How can I handle these ethical dilemmas on a daily basis? Okay. A few things to remember is that ask yourself. The best thing to do at that point of time is, if you feel something is ringing a bell, ask people to wait and say, wait, I need some time to take a decision on this. Don't be quick. Take a notebook, write down, what is this dilemma? Which of my values is being flouted? And also always remember that whenever you take a decision, try to think of whether a person is getting affected, whether a certain party is getting affected, or whether it's a large environmental cause that is getting affected. Sometimes small things that we do might affect the environment outside. It's like cutting down a tree. Okay, today if you cut down a tree in your company premises, you'll have the environmentalists come up to you and say, ask you, they will sue you, or they will file a complaint for flouting an environmental rule, sustainability. Look at various possibilities. And whenever you are taking a decision, think of the larger interest and not one particular person's interest. Think in terms of, will I be hurting somebody? And what does my instinct tell me? And here, all your Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the Bible, everything comes to your rescue. What is my instinct telling me? And each one of us has a nagging gut feeling. You keep getting your alarm, what you call as your ethical alarm. Of late, how do you feel? Nowadays, every day because of COVID, I can hear an ambulance going every 15 minutes. And the minute the ambulance alarm rings, something happens. Similarly, when we all have our ethics alarms. So your gut feeling, or you know that something is not right. And when you know that something is not right, ask yourself, will I be comfortable if my children are observing me take this decision? All right. Will I be comfortable if my children were observing me and they watch me taking this decision? So in most cases, your children, I'll give you an example. All of you watch movies. I was watching this movie Thappad very recently. It's of course not in the workplace arena, but this particular person walks up to a lady and he tells her, because she's a witness in the case, he requests her, saying that when you come in as witness, please say that this incident never happened at all. And that lady's daughter is sitting there. And one look at her daughter, and she looks at the person and she says, I would want to believe that you never came to me asking me for this kind of favor. All right. So how will my children feel? How would I feel if my decision went public? And most cases, would I want others to treat me like this? All right. I would like to end with Subroto Bakchi's 10 attributes of leadership. And he says that ethics is about doing the right thing when people are not watching you. So I'll give you an example, last example over here, where he says that, you You are free to do whatever you want on your company computer. So you're sitting on your desktop and you're doing personal work, or you're watching a movie, or you take company property. Like people carry a lot of pen, paper, or stationery from the company. They take it home because nobody is watching, right? Uh, personal leadership, he says, or professionalism is about doing the right thing when nobody can catch you or nobody can tell you whether something is right or wrong. So your own integrity or your own work ethic tells you. For example, today all of us are working from home. Nobody can ask us to start work at 9 o'clock in the morning and continue till 7 o'clock in the evening. I can pick up my purse and I can go out today. But I know that I'm supposed to be at work from 9:30 to 6 minimum and put in that extra hour. All right. So it says this above all, to thine own self be true. All right. So the sun never asks, we believe that tomorrow morning the sun will rise at 5 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because the sun is following its own work ethic and knows that the day has to start in the morning and life has to begin. All right. That, he says, is personal leadership and personal ethic. All right. With that, friends, we at least I think I've spoken too much. Now we can have questions. Whatever you wish to ask, over to you, friends. So, are there any questions? Is there anything in the chat box which people don't agree with, or anything that you would like to ask me? Ma'am, over to you. Over to you. Shobha, ma'am? Yeah. Shobha, ma'am, any questions, or is there anything that...
Rita, madam, 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Because Sambhaji madam will take up the questions.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us on workplace ethics and making how to make our career meaningful by distinguishing between ethical and non-ethical behavior at workplace. The topic was looking very simple but with deep meaning, and you made it very, very simple by giving multiple examples of various fields. Thank you so much, ma'am. We would like to take few questions which have come to me on the topic. Ma'am, the first question which has been asked is there need to teach professionalism today?
Glad this question came. The need to teach professionalism rises every day. And so long as people continue to work, this need exists. There are a lot of reasons for it. A lot of time, people come from different cultures, and every culture has its own set of values and things to do and things that are right and wrong. So professionalism may belong to a particular, professional ethics, if we are talking about, it may be specific to an organization. It could be specific to a certain work area or a certain work culture, or even based on it differs from country to country. For example, they say that in China they practice what you call as guanxi. Guanxi means they believe in give and take. So in China, when you go to visit a company or somebody, you may be expected to carry a gift with you. Whereas in a certain country, maybe in the United States, you're not expected to carry a gift. So here there is a conflict. And lots of times people don't know what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And if you're talking only about professional behavior, people need to be trained, because all of us come from different backgrounds. People may not have been trained. I don't want to, uh, take this too personally, but I'll tell you, a lot of times men sometimes do not know how to work with women. In today's day and age, a lot of us don't know how to work with transgenders. Okay, a lot of time you don't know how to work with disabled people and people from different countries, and therefore you need to be trained on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. This training has to be a regular process. I hope I've satisfied satisfactorily answered the question.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is, do you think workplace ethics are changing with the changes taking place in the society?
Uh, I would like not to think, not so. Yes, new dimensions come in, but ethics are basic. They've been there. And if you look at, ma'am spoke about in the Indian philosophy. Now, for example, every country and all over the world, if you look at ethics or basic value systems, they are all the same. It's only how we interpret them. Uh, so the commonalities and all of those, ultimately, what do they tell you? Be good and don't harm other people and treat everyone with respect. So a few things may change in terms of how it is viewed and how it is interpreted, right? But uh, basic things about right and wrong will not change. Will not change. We may grow. This is my feeling. This is my.
Exactly. One more last question we would like to take, ma'am.
Yeah.
Do you think that professional ethics should be one of the major subjects in the curriculum of professional courses?
It should be there in all courses. It should be there in all courses. And one of the biggest, I would say, gaps in our education system is that we start teaching people business ethics in a postgraduate program, whereas it should start at the undergraduate level, or even at the pre-college level. What do you call it? Pre-university level. It is a must. And the saddest part is, like, for example, you have an engineering college, they don't have a course in humanities, they don't have anything to do with ethics. And it's only when people join work do they realize that ethics is an important aspect. Soft skills is not included, etiquette is not included. These are hard skills, and these should come first before you teach people their technical skills.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question we'll take.
Yes, ma'am.
Can speaking the truth to your boss be unprofessional but helpful sometimes in emergency?
Speaking the truth or speaking a lie? What are we talking about? Uh,
Speaking the truth.
Speaking the truth, yeah, speaking the truth, I would like to go a little over here in the direction of etiquette and soft skills. right? Sometimes we feel that speaking the truth may harm us or may work against us. But how to speak the truth also is an art. So there, there is it's always a battle of communication every day. It's a struggle. How should I put things across to my boss when I don't agree with something that he's doing? One can always put it across in a positive way and in a very respectful way. And then the person understands. Sometimes even a look can tell whosoever it is. But if you want to save yourself later on to say that, okay, I told him, but you did not agree with me, yes, it can occur over a period of time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
No event is complete without expressing gratitude. So I request Professor Hema Angolkar to express the gratitude and to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all. This evening, I take the privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of SK Society, Rani Parvati Devi College of Arts and Commerce. I express my deep sense of gratitude to our today's resource person, Dr. Rita Rangnekar, Madam, for accepting our invitation and sparing her valuable time with us and enlightening us about the ethics in workplace. Thank you very much, Madam.
A sincere thank you to all of you. Stay home and stay safe. My thanks to the management and to Dr. Shobha and to everyone.
I thank our principal, Dr. Shobha Naik, Madam, for motivating us and getting in touch with Dr. Rangnekar, Madam, and arranging for this wonderful session. I thank Shri S.S. Shinde, Coordinator and Head, Department of Commerce, and also Madam Sharmila Sambhaji, Head, Department of Sociology, for coordinating for the conduct of this webinar and for handling the question hour session. I thank the Chairman IQAC Dr. Abhay Patil for his guidance and cooperation in the conduct of this webinar. I thank the organizing secretaries of this webinar for their cooperation and help extended. I thank the Chairman of Technical Committee, Shri Pierre Carvalho, for his technical help. I thank all the faculty members of Arts, Commerce, and BBA department for their support and participation. No event or academic activity is possible without the participation of the learned participants of this webinar from different professions and occasions. I wholeheartedly thank all the participants for sparing their valuable time and giving us this opportunity to conduct the webinar. I thank the chairperson of our college managing committee and the management of the society for their support, motivation, and guidance, without which no academic year, no academic activity is possible. Thank you, one and all. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Ma'am, may I take your leave? Shobha ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you.